I'd like to call the meeting to order and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to begin the meeting and explain a little bit why we're spread out this morning. The two of them to my right have had exposure to potential health issues, nothing serious, but in the interest of not contaminating the rest of us, they've just spread out a few seats. So we're going to move forward, and we appreciate it that they haven't shared whatever they potentially contracted with everyone. First item we've got on our agenda would be approval of the agenda as presented. Is there any changes, modifications?
I'll make a motion.
Second that.
We have a motion to approve as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
First item up is public comment. We have one, Charlie Ballmaster.
Good morning. I am here representing the Grant County Animal Welfare Board in regards to the county ordinance that your attorney has redone for us. We appreciate that. The last time we spoke, it was decided for me to go back to the entities to find out if they would agree. The problem is they're waiting on you to accept this first before they agree to it. Now, thing that you have to understand, they're not going to accept that whole ordinance because there's some wording in there that doesn't really pertain to them. Our concern is that everybody's on the same page for the enforcement part. That tells City, Candleton, Troy, and the county they follow the guidelines of the enforcement. But as far as how the committee's made up, the welfare board, the city really doesn't have much to say about that other than that's the county ordinance. So they're going to update their ordinances to fit the enforcement. But they're waiting for the county to adopt this ordinance first before they want to piggyback. So right now we're playing ping pong back and forth, and we'd like to get something going that we can.
Okay, you said that they're gonna have their ordinances too, updating their ordinances?
Yes, that's what they'll have to do because they can't actually adopt this whole ordinance because of some of the language in it.
Okay.
What the board, when we discussed it the other night, what we're concerned about, that everybody's on the same page
Right.
on the enforcement.
So if this is adopted throughout, then their ordinances will be gone, right?
Well,
Are we still gonna
I
write?
can't speak for their attorneys, but that they would adopt the enforcement part of our ordinance.
See, that was the main reason to have one ordinance throughout the county. And then that way, law enforcement don't have to go and grab this paper, grab this ordinance, grab this.
Well, my understanding, they'll be able to enforce it, but they're not going to adopt the whole ordinance that you wrote because there's a lot of language in there that doesn't pertain to them. Our main concern
Well,
on the
then
board.
it would be void, that part would be void for them. You know, we could still use that ordinance, but we just wouldn't use it for them.
Basically, what I've been told, that they're waiting for the county to, accept this, and then they would follow through.
I thought we already accepted the ordinance.
Well, see, that's where I'm coming from.
We did
Pending, I thought it was a pending approval from the other
cities.
cities because what we want to do is get everybody on the same
Same
page.
page.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And my understanding, I sent copies of this to all the attorneys representing the different councils and asked them to reply if there were any issues. I have not heard anything.
Okay, so my question is this going to be an interlocal agreement? Is that how this is going to be carried out?
It's just gonna be an ordinance.
Okay, but
Throughout
the
the
question
county.
is, if we sign off on a specific ordinance, the parts that are relevant to Tell City, Cannleton, and Troy may not be how the county carries this out, but how, whether it's enforcement responsibilities, I don't know whether there's any payment responsibilities or whoever has to step up in certain situations. And each city would then be required to be on board or approve those, not necessarily how the county operates. So I see the two, that's why I'm curious whether this will be, just because the county made an ordinance, the cities need to accept the enforcement mechanism, the payment, how it's going to be carried out, the responsibilities carried out by maybe the officer, if you get a animal control officer, so that they're all consistently on board with what's going on. Now, I thought we passed that to send it to them, to have them look through it and mark through anything that's a problem to them.
And there were some, and we corrected that. Your attorney made those changes.
Made those changes. So we have a draft now that with modifications.
Yes.
As it's currently drafted, are they okay with that?
I have not heard anything back from them stating otherwise.
Okay, I think it's, sometimes when we don't get that, make that call to them and
Okay.
say, in its current draft 2 form, is this acceptable? Okay, if the cities only need to modify how they're going to respond to whatever part they play in this ordinance, I don't see a problem with it. And they don't have to include our whole operational
Right.
scheme of things because it's county operated. So I'm assuming this is, and then, I'm drawing conclusions
As
here.
long as
which
it's
I'm-
uniform.
Yeah,
from
right.
the city.
So if that's the case, then the areas that are issues that the city would have to participate in, and I'm talking about all 3 of them, then those are the areas that need to be approved by their board
Right.
to make sure they're okay with it.
Okay.
But the first step is in draft 2, are they okay with it? And then they need to, potentially, they can say, these are the 3 areas that affect us. We're okay with that. We'll pass. If it's an ordinance, and they can reference our ordinance where it states it, and then get them okay to pass that. I think that's a logistics thing. You need to reach out to them to make
Okay.
sure that's done.
And I will make appointments with each one of their councils to present it to them,
Mhm.
ask them at that time, but I will give them fair warning that I'm coming and this,
Well, I
we're
think-
discussing.
Yeah, the first thing
The
is
attorneys.
make sure they have the documents, because you can do it, because they're gonna use their attorney to say
Right.
what if, how if, and that, so
I
that you
will-
get that in advance, because if you show up to a meeting with new documents, they're
This
gonna
is
look
gonna
at
be
you.
longer.
Well,
Yeah.
we had a board meeting the other night and everybody's getting discouraged because we've been doing this for, Becky, how long now? Been working on this ordinance,
10 months.
at least. And
Yeah, I know,
so,
and it's one of these things, though, it's like an enforcement tool. You don't wanna put anybody in a situation where my law says that you can drive 35 mile an hour on 37. My law says you can drive 45. Depending on the officer that's out there, I'll arrest you for this amount or that amount. You don't want to create any ambiguity within that operation, so that whenever an animal is actually in need, that you have a consistent method
I
of dealing
think
with it.
maybe one of the other things I do is sit down with the head of the law enforcement department, with Alan, Derek,
Mhm.
Lee, and say, this is what the ordinance says.
Right.
What do you think about it before we even go to the council?
Right, I think that's a good idea, because, anybody that's going to be involved in the enforcement,
They're directly involved.
yes, needs to have input in
I
this
think
to make
that's
sure
probably
we
the
don't
first
make
thing I need to
mistakes.
set up before I even speak to the council, make sure the police departments are on.
Okay with it.
Mhm.
Yep.
All
I
right,
think it's
I
a
will
good
get back with you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. Next item up is the approval of minutes from 1/21/2025.
Make a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is Steve Howe. He's got a notice of bidder.
I emailed this to you, I guess you all seen it. I just want to let you know when this is gonna happen. We need to get them under contract by the 5th of the month. So And I have contacted the one that went over on price and told them it's gonna be a fixed price from now on.
Okay, Andrew, Steve had mentioned something to me about checking the box to say it's gonna be fixed, so we don't get into the excessive shoulder stone.
I sent that to you.
Yeah.
So, and that's okay, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can set a fixed price and say it's going to be this regardless. The only thing I would think is it might limit who actually bids, because they might say, well, I don't know how much it is. I'm not gonna bid then because I don't wanna get stuck with the overage to make sure, the
And what
fence-
contractors do in that respect is they add a little additional money, and it might cost us a little money, but in the end game, I think you had almost double the cost on shoulder stone the last time this one.
You got like $60,000,
$60,000.
$67,000.
So I think that's excessive.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
somebody puts in a little extra because they're fearful of that, it's just their task to know that X number of tons of shoulder stone is gonna be placed on these roads, and they gotta figure out a way to get it there.
When they do that, then they wound up not being the low bidder overall.
Right,
Right, it's not fair to the other people that bid it with
Yeah,
that
that's right.
understanding is they're gonna put shoulder stone out there, so. You're just asking for approval to go ahead and put this out for bids, right?
I make a
And this
motion.
is the money, the additional $400,000
Yeah, 390-something thousand, almost.
yeah.
plus our
Community
match
crossing.
for our community crossings we got here in the fall. Okay. Any other questions?
I make a motion for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second, all those in favor?
Steve, you say that one backed out because they said that they couldn't do the,
No, I haven't backed out.
Oh.
I wanted them to know that it was gonna be that way this time.
yeah. Because that's a big surprise, $60,000 extra.
Well, and some of these, we get fairly competitive bids, and that can make a difference
Yeah, that's-
in cost to the county.
I know some of those bids were fairly close last time.
Yeah.
And that,
Less than $60,000 difference.
a whole lot less.
Yeah.
So, Steve, before you wander off, any news on the striping of the Foundry entrance?
I haven't, called them again and asked for a price. I got two different ones supposed to be getting me a price. I was supposed to have it in November. And I'm gonna get you that right away. I don't know when right away is, 'cause I ain't heard that thing from them. I'll call them again.
All right, remind them.
Appreciate it.
I called, I think it was about 3 weeks ago and asked again.
Yeah, because that's pretty dark down there and it's just,
Yeah.
it's dangerous.
And if we need to, and we have a higher, I think the redevelopment approved paying the $1,000, which initially you thought what it would cost.
Yeah.
We probably need to get a number, run it past through them, because it'll come out of reserve TIF funds, and we need to get them to allocate it, so that's what we're paying for. So if you can encourage somebody to get a fair number,
Okay,
we can move on with that.
all right.
All right, thanks, Steve. Next item up on our list is the approval of the payroll of 1/31/2025 in the amount of $192,791.82.
Make a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item we have up is the payroll withholding for the same 1/31/2025 in the amount of $43,930.11.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is health claims in the amount of $49,098.49.
I make a
Okay.
motion.
Pam, I second.
Motion and a second. Kelly, I got a quick question. I know you work in this. Is this for like a 2-week period?
No, that would just be, if I get monthly claims.
Whatever has
Weekly,
came in,
whatever comes
it
in.
really, depending on how the insurance company was billed, received,
That's the problem,
so
yes.
there's not really a pattern we can determine just because, okay,
I get a bill every Friday.
okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item up is dental claims in the amount of $130.61.
I'll make a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Vision claims in the amount of $139.31.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item is life insurance claims in the amount of $1,559.96.
I make a motion.
I second that.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Sheriff pension for the first quarter in the amount of $38,050.25.
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, and I've got a quick question on that. That is a standard amount that you'll pay 4 payments during the year for that, okay. All
That's
those,
4 payments a month of the, a
yeah,
year of this.
quarterly, yeah. You take that times 4 and that would be your
Okay.
total for the year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next item up, when we received our packet, it is the accounts payable. I did not, I don't know whether either of you, I think you got the same email I received. We did not receive our list of items that we're paying for in the amount of $735.
735,000.
Yeah, 35,000. I then went into the LAO system and looked up the docket date 2/3/2025, and it shows 285,503.81. It's what it shows. There was a couple items that concerned me. One was a bill from Baker Tilly that it has a handwritten note on here. This is for the RDC and the 2025 budget and should be paid out of the TIF funds. I reached out to John Shear and the rest of his board and asked him about that, and he believes that it probably is their bill, but in order to pay for it out of TIF funds, they've not approved it. So the bill hasn't came to them. They need to approve it to use the TIF funds. I found that one.
RDC does?
Yes, because TIF funds are restricted. And then I found a couple, and I don't know how this works, but inside of our handbook, we have a couple charges in here for per diem, which is a $50 per day fee. It may be mandated by the state, but the way our handbook is written, we reimburse meals up to $50 with receipts. And these are all things that you would have seen in a printout if we'd have received it. So I'm not sure whether the state mandates that we pay $50 per day or not, but our handbook doesn't reflect it. I used the word search in the whole document and couldn't find anything that states that. So that's another one that I just by poking around in the LAO system came upon.
There's
So-
nothing in the
Usually-
handbook that states it?
Usually when it goes beyond the handbook, the state, when they call these meetings, they put on there a per diem amount
Mm-hmm.
if it varies. So I'm assuming that there is a letter for both of those stating, the state says that this amount is approved.
Right, with
You just didn't
receipts.
see it.
Mhm.
Whatever the letter says, I haven't seen one of those in a while, but that's usually what happens if we don't use the $50 per day with receipts, yes.
Because I know you should have a receipt if you're traveling or anything. You should always keep all of your receipts, whether it be
And what,
hotel, meals, what have you, gas.
so again, we may want to incorporate something in the handbook that reflects in the event the state mandates compensation in any fashion that the county pays it. A lot of these things are, I know in the past, they're required attendance. I don't think you have the option. And I think the county has to pay. But I don't know about the per diem part of it. So,
What would you do? I mean, you can't just go in and say, okay, I was there 2 days, you owe me $100. You have to have some kind of documentation.
unless the state says that you have to pay them.
Kim is here, she can
Oh,
tell you
okay.
about that letter.
It was my understanding, like, for those claims from I believe, from the assessor's office, that there were state mandated meetings that Sarah and Mindy had to go to.
I think they are state mandated meetings,
Right.
but is it mandated we pay a $50 per diem?
It's mandated on one of the letters that we pay a per diem, but I don't think it really says the amount.
Okay, because, I mean, you know, it's,
Common sense just tells me you would need a receipt. I'm sorry, but I mean, that's just,
Well, it says right here, as allowed under, and it has specific code, along with substance allowance, attendees are allowed to request reimbursement for lodging, mileage, and parking. Now, that states they're allowed to request it. That's
So
not
the
a,
question,
And then
were there receipts turned in with these
No,
to get
it was-
those amounts?
No, it was just that letter. So per that letter, I'm assuming, and we all know what happens when you assume, that they were requesting the $50 a day with the stipulation of that letter that they were allowed to. That's how I
Right.
took it. But-
see, and within our handbook,
Mhm.
it specifically says, that you've worked with that too, that it's up to $50 compensation for meals.
Mhm.
And then you need to deduct any meals that are provided,
Right.
within the conference. And then you need to supply receipts.
Okay.
And if that's the case, however this is, I don't see anything within county government that states a per diem is a required payment.
Okay.
So we need to bring clarity to that. If
Sure.
the state mandates $50 or not, whether it's our option, whatever. I think in the past, we've held everybody to the fact that if you buy a meal, we're going to reimburse that up to a certain amount.
Okay,
And so that was my concern when I clicked on that one in WOW. So,
sure. I'll pull that one and the Baker Tilly one.
well, my problem is, I'm going to say this right now, what I would like us to do is to pay utility bills.
Okay.
And solid waste needs to pay some tipping costs. I don't know what else is in there that's critical, but we need to get a printout. This is what, I'll show you here, Kim. This is what we got in the way of this is what we received as a accounts payable.
Oh, you didn't get the usual report that you
No,
guys always get.
this is 3 sheets of an old budget from 2024. Now, Kelly's got some documents there, but I really think the commissioners need to review
Okay.
what we're paying for prior to voting for it.
Okay.
So that would be my suggestion until we get those, not that there is or is not something that's duly owed.
Mhm.
And if we have something that causes us an issue,
Okay.
we may have to have a special meeting in order to go ahead and prove it. I'm not,
Okay.
but we really need to be able to look through those and
Right.
get our comfort level up to what we're paying for.
Yeah,
But
not
I don't
sure
think-
how the wrong attachment got on there. I apologize
Yeah.
for that.
That's
I'm gonna
fine.
go back over to to the office. I'll make copies of this so you guys can have some hard copies, and then you can look over it at your leisure.
Right,
Thank you.
if there's anything else that I know the utility bills will be crucial or we'll end up paying late fees.
Yeah, Visa,
Um,
I like to get the Visa claims because.
If they fall into that same category, we can tentatively approve them, and if there's something we find that's objectionable, we'll bring it up and address it.
Okay,
If that's another, I just want to make sure that we don't find ourselves into something that costs the county money, but at the same time, I think it's our responsibility to review
account for it.
and provide oversight.
certainly.
So-
Okay, I'll go ahead and get these for you. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Thank
That's fine, thank you.
So I don't know how that's a motion, you know what I mean? But
we
what
just
I,
need the claims. I mean, yeah, alls I have is this.
you've got the same, see what that is? It's an old budget.
Yeah,
for
that's fine.
2024,
Yeah,
and
it
it's a
didn't make a
starting
lot of
point.
sense.
It's got some speculation in there as to budget amounts. That's what was sent to me too, and
Okay.
that's why I thought I could go into the WOW system. I thought, I'll see it in there, then I go in there and it only reflects like 285,000, something like that on this specific claim document rather than 700,000.
Yeah, that's a little short of
We-
200,000.
Yeah, so it's an extra $500,000,
Mm-hmm,
and I believe it's our responsibility to review that,
yeah,
so.
a lot of money.
So I'm gonna make up a motion that I'd entertain a motion to pay the utility bills, Visa bills, solid waste, because I know they have tipping fees that have to be paid, and the remainder of the claim docket temporarily suspended till we've had a chance to review the expenditures. And then we'll either, if it's necessary, we can have a special meeting or we'll push it out to our next meeting if that's needed, so.
Will there be late fees on any of this?
Well, that's what we're trying to avoid.
Yeah, I want to try to avoid late fees.
Because the utilities will have a penalty. The solid waste, they need to pay, they've got some bills they need to pay for Davis County and waste management for tipping.
Well, hopefully, maybe if we get this and she's making them by the end of the week,
We may have to have a special
we can
meeting
get
if
it
it
done,
needs
have
to
a
be.
special meeting, that way
Yeah.
avoid the late fees.
So
Motion's out there, I second that.
we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So we don't have a specific dollar amount, Kelly. I mean, this is,
Okay.
We'll try to get one by the end of the week if she's making them for us and we can, it shouldn't be that hard.
Next item up is additional appropriation for the prosecutor's office for cleaning expenses for 2025. That's another questionable one. We received, let me see if I can pull it back up, a document for an additional appropriation,
I got it right here.
and it states, doesn't it say on there Perry County Council?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my understanding is, at this time of the year, we can't do additional appropriations. That would go through the county council, it wouldn't be a commissioner issue. And if we look at our payroll, I don't know what necessarily has changed.
The reason that it's brought to you guys is because, like the Social Security, it comes out of the commissioner's budget, but the cleaning service is through the courthouse budget.
Okay, so here's my question, I'm gonna pull this up in payroll. Everything's sideways here. See where Caitlin Steen is in here coming out of our account?
Yes,
And we're paying her?
yes.
So what's changing? I mean, we've been paying her through that now.
Because last year when we did the budget, it was our understanding, there was not a letter stating that Caitlin would be cleaning the new office.
Right.
That it was gonna be maybe Glenn's cleaning or someone else was going, we weren't gonna be paying
Yeah.
her. Well, since they've moved down here and since the budget, it's been decided that she's gonna continue to clean the office. So
I don't think that's a
just
true
asking,
statement.
so
We
it was
signed,
not
we signed the
budgeted.
agreement. I pulled up the agreement. It was already signed.
Is that for Glenn's?
Yeah. Or for Caitlin Stewart.
Which was after the budget. It was approved after the budget was already made. So we didn't budget this amount of money
So
for
the,
Caitlin's cleaning for the year.
so the
Because we
county,
didn't turn that in
so
until,
the county commissioners, you've removed the money that we had paid her in previous years from our budget?
Yes, that comes out of
And
the
when was
cleaning
that?
service
Has that got a
budget.
So
Which
we
is
had,
the courthouse.
They don't have
Yeah.
the signature.
But then Social Security comes out
yeah, I remember that
of.
because. I think
that
it
is,
was-
has this amount that's in here under the
It says
commissioner's
23, but
account,
Mhm.
has that
I think the
changed?
same one was
No, it's
done
the
at
same
the end of the
amount.
year.
And we were paying her last year out of this
Yes.
account?
This is for
Yes.
23. I have the one for 24 at home.
Sometime in December.
Because they added waxing twice a year to the floors.
Yes.
Glenn's.
My question is, see, what we had done in the past, if you look at your payroll account, you see that Caitlin Stewart appears with our payroll amount.
Mm-hmm, on payroll.
Yes, and then we've been paying her, that's a monthly charge,
Yes.
right? It's a
Yes.
monthly charge. And that's why I thought, I'm not sure what changed. What she has done before is clean prosecutor's office when it was at the electric department.
Right.
And they've chose to continue to have her clean the one now at the courthouse.
Right.
So whether this needs to be a transfer, I'm not sure. If we have the money laying in the commissioner's funds,
But you won't, there's not gonna be any extra
to pay her,
to transfer into, the Social Security's good, it's the cleaning service,
Because it wasn't put in their budget.
correct?
so it must have been taken out of our budget for 25.
Right,
Her payroll,
the 24, it was budgeted for the 24.
Okay,
But in '25, it was not budgeted because it was our understanding at that time she was not going to be cleaning. So we didn't need to budget for it.
okay.
But now, since then, we do need to budget.
So we're paying her, we just approved this payroll, so we're still paying her out of the commissioner's account?
Yes, that's how it's always been.
And so when and if this gets, whatever, decided, then that money will be replenished back into the commissioners? For this, like this $200 charge here.
Mhm.
We've went ahead and approved that as payroll. Is that money coming back into that account?
Why would it come back into that account?
In effect, you're asking for a $2,400 additional appropriation
Right, the appropriation will be added to that.
added to the commissioner's account? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I get it now.
Social
You got me
Security,
there.
yes.
Because what you've in effect done is you did not include it in the commissioner's account. Now you need to do that and continue what we're currently doing.
Correct. It just
Gotcha.
needs to be added to the budget.
Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
take me through this. Do they need to, this appropriation, and then we don't need to do this till March
Correct. It
because
won't
we
be
have
entered.
sufficient capital in there to do this. The only squeeze it'll be towards the end of the year.
Correct.
But that'll come from the council, not us, correct?
Well, that's my question because they have to do additional appropriations, not us.
I mean, they have to do the additional appropriation, but since it's coming out of your
We
budget,
have to approve it.
we just
But it's-
been told that you guys need to approve
Approve it.
if it's in
Okay.
your budget.
I understand now.
I think so, maybe.
Yeah.
So our action is here is to approve the continuation of Caitlin Steen to clean the prosecutor's office.
Stuart,
That is Stuart.
Sorry,
Yes,
I know what she used to be.
well,
yes.
Okay. So I'd entertain a motion to do that.
I make a motion.
I second that.
Any other further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
What, Sam?
I said I did just get here. You had a question, sorry.
Oh, no.
Um,
And this will go till March until it can go get
Well,
additional appropriation.
yeah, the State Board of Accounts restricts this until you get your 24 closed. So, but what we have is sufficient money in there, and if it takes a few months here to have this occur, it won't affect anything, so. Next thing is we have open commissioner appointments, and we got a list of those. I know there was one circled in there. I remember on redevelopment, it was a school member. That one is circled. That one has to come from the school. They designate that individual. Some of the other ones, I don't know whether you want to re-advertise them. We're lacking in a few places. Do we have it up on our website, Kelly, what's open?
They sent this to you
Yes,
with the
Yeah.
highlight, those are the ones that are open.
The ones that are highlighted are open.
the ones that have the little
Yeah.
yellow circle around them.
Mhm.
And there's a few questions on some of them.
We have to, I know we received several letters of interest on the Emergency Management Board,
Mhm.
and that's a discussion that we need to consider quantity, areas represented. I think the letters pretty well represent everywhere in the county.
Right.
And there was a question on that one, whether it was internal for you guys or if it's for the public to be
As far-
appointed to that board.
See, this is where we have to, I think that thing's kind of up, and we had talked about who we want to put on there. So we need to kind of revisit that sometime and put some thoughts together as how we envision that. I prefer not the board to get huge. I think when it does, it's not very nimble. So this is something we need to have some considerations.
Yeah, looking at this, it should be like an internal one of you three on the board.
It has been.
Well,
I think we've always had a
the council has one also.
council, yeah,
Correct.
was always on there
Mhm.
too. We never, actually, we talked about that, trying to get everybody aligned with the specific area in which they live to represent that. At one time, we had too much representatives in certain townships over others. I think that's, from what the letters I read, probably has been addressed. The
That would
public,
put 8, and I don't, like I said, the commissioners, I don't think, I mean, there's enough on here where it's covering the different sections of the county. And we have a councilman on there, and the one letter I'm reading here from Steve Hauser is that Joe Flamion requests he not be reappointed, so that would take it down to 6.
I think you don't have Anderson represented then though, without putting a new person on there.
You look at all of these, they're all.
Got Union,
Yeah, see, what we ended up doing is we just kept the
Clark,
status quo and continued to operate
Troy.
without any, and I think the old board set up a representative from Troy, Steve tell me, Troy, Candleton, Tell City, a commissioner, a councilman, and we have like 4 public appointments for the different
Yeah.
townships within the county.
So out of all these letters that you received are to fill these other
They're the,
expired vacant spots?
Yes.
Not your internal one?
Right.
Which would be one of the 3 of you?
yeah, it would be a commissioner, a council, and then the others are representatives from the cities.
Yeah.
That's how that was
The
set up.
mayor.
And the question was, I know we discussed it before, it's just like Steve Howe participates, representing a certain township. Do we want to have this board made up where whoever is the county highway superintendent fills that position? Because it's kind of critical. In our situation now, Steve's going to be on the board if he's put in here and he's representing the county and its assets available in the event of an emergency. And that's one thing we want to have, is to make sure in the event something happens that we can be very responsive. So that was our discussion that we've
We do
never
have
had.
a letter for Anderson.
I know we do. So it would be just somebody that would replace Joe.
Yep.
But we've got to decide, kind of what we want that board to look like. We
You
just
can
need
get
to-
too many people on a board.
Right. I think it needs to be,
Steve, come on up.
Right now, it's outlined by Indiana code. We can actually expand on it. I
Mm,
don't know whether we can reduce it. We
Okay.
can enlarge it.
so does Indiana code require all cities to have representation, irregardless of size?
Yes. This is the largest city of your community.
Is it only one city? My question is just like, are you required to have a representative from Leopold?
That was just something that we've been doing. So we got equal representation.
Yeah, that's a township.
You're doing it by townships.
Yes.
Yep. And then County, would they be required to be on there?
The county mayor also serves on, or
Okay.
is designated.
I
Is
know
that
you
a
said you
state
had to have
statute?
one from the largest city.
Not obviously state statute, yes.
Okay. And then you have one from the council.
Yes, and one from the commissioners.
See, it says Kelly is pretty convenient here and handed it to me. The mayor of each city located in the county.
That'd be
So,
Which would be Carrollton and
Tell City.
Yes,
and then the president of the county physical body, which that's a given.
or they're designated, yes.
Yeah, it doesn't say that. Let's see, these
So that would
are
be
all-
the commissioner appointment? Right.
Mhm.
So basically, all we need to do is just,
representatives of private and public agencies that can assist emergency management, one commander. I'm assuming that's probably whoever is in your seat would be the designee as kind of what they call the commander or the person in charge of this group.
Right.
I'm
Does
assuming.
it still state something about the Civil Air Patrol? We do
Yes,
not have
that's
one.
what I was reading there about Civil Air Patrol.
Yeah, that-
We want to stay out of the air with everything that's been happening.
And it just talks about disaster prevention and preparedness responsiveness.
Well, we actually have 4 letters and 4 openings in, correct?
Correct.
We already need to actually have a meeting.
Okay, because you're supposed to have them 4 times a year.
Some new first responders and things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
So, those 4 letters cover the whole county, correct?
Yes.
But this position was never advertised, was it? I don't know that we ever did that.
Somehow we got
Discussed it a
these,
couple
yeah.
I think we discussed it, but never did anything is what we ended up doing. I don't know whether there's other interest out there or not. A lot of these people have already served for years on your board, yeah.
The one that would be, Joe did resign.
Right, right.
There's 5 of them.
5
there
or 4? I've got
That's
4.
5 letters.
5 letters, but Joe's letter
Joe
is
is
to resign.
Oh, okay.
Joe don't want to be
No?
I
Okay.
have Randy Cleaving, Steve Howe, Bill Shooter, Dave Brigham, and Steve Hauser. The letters that I have.
Oh, I don't have Steve Hauser's.
That's what was in here.
I don't have, well, yes, I do have Steve Hauser. Yeah, okay.
That was just letting you know that Joe Klein resigned.
Yeah, that's just letting.
Because I was thinking we had 4 people serving
Yeah.
county representation.
Yeah, there's Dave Bergman, Bill Shooter for Clark Township, Steve Howe for Union Township, Randy Cleaving for Anderson Township, and then Joe Flaming is not going to.
Phil Sheeter does live now in Clark County.
Yeah, I know, he was
Yeah.
Tell City, and that was one of the questions, but he was moving out there, and I think he built a house and moved there, so he's in that territory.
So the one that actually would change is the one for Joe Flaming, and that would be Randy
Randy
Cleaving.
Cleveland
Applying
applied
for that.
to fill that slot, yeah.
Okay, so we need to make a motion for each.
Well, my question is, and I'm okay with this here, if we want to go ahead, what we'd end up designating is 4 county representatives
Mhm.
appointed by the commissioners. The question becomes, we're not required to put Troy in because they're not a city, according to what I just read here quickly. But I think, again, they have a fire department and they
Yes.
have people that participate. I'm thinking it wouldn't hurt to include the 3, Tell City, Troy, and Cannleton.
Mhm.
Sorry to interrupt. I think the live stream is not on.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Okay, so we have, we'd have 3 city appointments and the council president and a representative from the commissioners.
So how many of them make 1, 2, 3, 4,
I'm
5,
talking about 9 plus Steve.
7, 8, yeah, 9 people.
That's God's plenty.
That'd be a plenty, yep.
But that would basically, part of this is because the state statute, we're required to put the elected officials. 5 of them are required.
Right. And Troy deserves to have some representation because of their fire department and their.
Right.
Yep. So then what we'd have to do is just put it out to Troy.
What we would have to do, what we would need to do is the commissioners to say, this is how we envision this, and this will be the structure of this organization.
Mhm.
And we can make our appointments. And then the others need to provide their appointments. I'm thinking, doesn't it say mayor of these communities? I don't think it's a designated.
Well, I think it would be president of the town council of Troy, wouldn't it? Yes. Instead of the mayor.
So that was all the letters you received. You didn't receive, I'm asked if Derek Woodfield had sent a letter.
Who?
Anderson. Derek Woodfield.
Never got a letter. I did not receive any.
I was gonna say, we haven't received any that I'm aware of,
Mm-mm.
so. Okay,
And where's he located?
it would be for Anderson.
So do we need to set that stage for what our expectations are and then put it out and let anybody have an interest, submit a letter,
For where?
whatever? I mean, these are all appointments that'll last for what, 2 years? I
Yes.
think the
Yes.
2-year appointments.
Yeah.
Because we haven't appointed it for a few years and just continued on with the current makeup of the group. I don't know that we've ever advertised that we're soliciting people that would have an interest, just to, in order to be fair. Want to do that?
I think
Because Because we always
Definitely
talked about
advertise it.
how we're going to structure this group, and we never took any action on
And then
it.
by adding Troy,
We'll just
we
end up
can
with
do
a,
it that, because that's totally gonna change the whole spectrum of it all, putting more people on, putting another person
well, I
on
think it's
board.
about what, did we always have a representative from Troy, but I don't know if
It
they,
was Troy Township, not
Troy
city.
Township.
Troy
not the
Township.
city of Troy.
Right,
Okay.
so you're changing that, so yeah, it should really go back out for advertisement, and we can still use these here that we've
Yeah.
got.
And if anybody additionally wants to apply, they can. Then we'll make a decision.
What I'm saying is, there at Troy, should the, like, the mayor tells city and the mayor accountant, shouldn't that appointment at Troy be the
Town council president,
president of the town council?
probably.
So do we?
Are you gonna have a problem with anything that's required to be done if we say push it off for a meeting or two to give them a chance to?
I'd like have a meeting this week, but is the existing good?
I mean, that's what we've been doing forever,
Yes.
so.
If you're good with me still having, I was thinking on Thursday, still having a meeting. We've got several applications we've kind of been.
Right. Um,
Could you do it with the people you have now?
That's
yeah, that's
what
what he's saying, just as we've been operating the last couple of years.
So how long would you want to put this out for? 4 weeks?
I think that'd be plenty.
Okay.
Make
current
it,
application's still valid.
sure,
Mhm.
sure.
And these are all still
They're
going to be in
fine.
there, but I never did get nothing from whoever that,
Okay, they're gonna double check to see who they sent the letter to and
okay,
go ahead and get it sent in
Okay.
if they're interested.
So
okay,
are we okay with the structure we just talked about,
Yes.
I am,
Commissioners?
by adding.
Okay, so I'm gonna entertain a motion that we set this board up, and it's a representative board from Troy, their council president, Tell City mayor, Cannleton mayor,
Mhm.
commission appointee, council president, and four,
When I
They
Council-
already appointed someone in the council.
They're already appointed.
but I mean, I'm talking about this organization going forward. These are the positions.
So it'd be an additional
Yeah,
from
and
council.
then we will have 4 township residents. They need to reside in their township area they're serving. And that will be a 9-member board makeup in addition to the EMA director.
Yeah, the council
So-
already appointed Corey Filling.
That's fine. But I'm just saying, we need to establish the makeup of this board and how you're gonna be eligible. So if you're in Clark Township, you cannot live in Troy Township and expect to represent Clark. You need to have somebody within that township as your representative on this board.
I'm good with that.
So, okay,
And-
man?
Advertise it for 4 weeks.
So we're gonna advertise it and the letters need to be received. We'll make a decision at our March, whatever meeting.
March morning meeting.
So, is that okay? I mean, I'm gonna get a motion, get this recorded in the minutes, so we.
Yes,
don't
and
have-
then also for him to go ahead and have his meeting this
Yeah,
Thursday.
Yeah,
correct?
it's
Yes.
okay to use the existing board to get through these things until the new board and this is put in place.
Yes.
So. I'd entertain that motion if anybody,
You've been
So we're at
trying.
11 members, is that correct?
no, we're actually at 9 that are appointed, plus the addition of whoever holds the EMA.
The EMA director,
yeah.
4 township members.
It's the same as, there is, the other 3 from the cities are all related to whoever's in that position, as is the EMA director. So,
I second that.
So I made the motion, okay. We got a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. So
Or are you going to appoint one of you guys?
we will at our March meeting.
Not until the March. You're not gonna do one now to go to the meeting that he's gonna have this week.
We already have a board that's kind of a quasi put together. So we'll use them
Okay.
and then at our March meeting, we'll get that decision made. The next item up is a review and approval of our new employment application.
So you're not gonna go through the rest of these?
We need to
We need to know
re-advertise. We
what
don't,
needs to be advertised and what doesn't.
Okay.
So like on the airport authority, it has James Rogan on here, but his term expired in
We need to
24.
advertise that we have an opening
Mhm.
there.
Okay,
I think that has to be a Republican.
yes.
Ken Rowland, is he on there?
Yes, he's
Yes.
already on there.
Okay.
The emergency management will be an internal whenever we get to it in March.
The Perry County Development Corp.
That needs to be tabled. We'll have more information on that later. We have this opening on the health board, a commissioner's appointment. Who was holding that spot, do you know?
No, it needs to be a doctor though,
Mm-hmm.
a physician.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about the
So we
last
need
time.
to solicit that, but it needs to be, if we can, get a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have to be party affiliated also on that one? Because you have two,
Well, it all depends on what the other ones,
because you have two Republicans on there now. I'm assuming that we would need a,
you actually have, according to this list, we have 3. But we can put as many as 4 up there. Am I looking at it correctly? 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I'm being told that it does not need to be a doctor, but according to the statute, it does. But it needs to be party affiliated.
I think that question was asked the very beginning of the year, and Chris was going to confirm that statute because we were unsure if it needed to be a licensed physician.
Physician or not, I think I remember that discussion also.
Here's the,
Then the next
So-
question would be, if they are a licensed physician, does it have to be party affiliated?
I think what you can't have is more than 4 of any one given party. So,
4.
more
Okay.
than 4 out of the 7.
Okay, so we should be fine. Either they're Democrat or Republican because the rest are independent.
So we
Actually,
just need to
the-
put that back out and advertise it. The Hospital Association,
Yeah.
put that one out too. It's not an overly active group due to the fact the hospital's been built, and I think maybe they are actively involved in fundraising. But put that one out to see if there's any interest. The other one, the Public Defender Board,
Yes.
needs to be advertised also. And also the Redevelopment Authority,
Mm-hmm. There's one there.
which is not overly active. It signs deeds and titles and things like this when the time comes up, so. And then the one I mentioned here, the redevelopment, is a school appointment.
Yeah.
It's not a commissioner appointment. So it needs to be a representative from the Tell City School Corporation.
which, that's the redevelopment commission,
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that is a school board appointment.
so not commissioner.
Yeah.
And you're going to, on the redevelopment authority.
Advertise them.
Advertise that one.
Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Is somebody going to reach out to the school board and let them know? Can you do that, Kelly?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that should be all of.
So I got one question here. On the Public Defender Board,
Mhm.
it states J.R. Flynn and his term expired. Are the other 2 members active? Because I had heard that one of them had resigned, but that was just hearsay.
That I
So
don't.
could you
I didn't
find
know how
out?
many members was on that board.
I believe 3. So,
It looks like it was a 3-year term, or 2-year term, yeah, 2. No, it says
3.
term 3 years. Date of appointment 22 and expires 24. So what, 2 and 2 make 4, not 3. It did last time I looked. I'll have to check with Ernest T. Bass.
well, we need to find out
Check
exactly
on that.
who is on that.
Yeah,
Public
because
Defender.
it's got,
And if there is, what we need to do is if someone has resigned, we'll look to fill that position with the remainder of that term, so we keep the rotation going.
yeah, I was just looking at that because, I mean, it says a term of 3 years. That might just be a typo. I don't
It
know.
might be, I
It could
don't
be, but-
honestly know either.
If that's a 3-year term, he's on there till the end of 25.
Yeah, we'll check into that one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Kelly, that I'm slipping through? Next thing is the approval of the new employment application. I think what that, now correct me if I'm wrong, it requires a background check. I've read
Yes.
through it. That's
Yes.
the changes.
That,
And-
and we added an email address.
Other than that, it's the same as what we currently have been using.
Correct.
That's simply, in order for our own protection, we chose to add that background check to, and it's not necessarily every applicant will go through that. It'll be an applicant once they've initially been considered, and then it'll be conducted.
My only question would be whose discretion is that on who gets picked and choose?
Generally, it's the department heads, right?
Okay.
They pick who they want to work within their office.
I mean, who we deciding we're gonna do background checks on?
The way the discussion, unless we refine it, is the idea is we didn't want to run background checks. It costs us, what, $35 on every applicant? What they want to do, because some of them, I know Alan made mention that he used this service for employees and he got a lot of just random, people just say apply to all, they click that button. And he got a lot of random applications that weren't, people wouldn't consider moving from California to Perry County in order to take a position at the
Correct.
jail. And what we were wanting to do is limit that to a candidate that would be truly considered and seem to meet
Mm-hmm.
the needs prior to running any of those. That's what the discussion was. I don't, I think what you're thinking about is somebody might do it just.
Yeah, maybe you don't like me, so you're gonna.
Exactly, I know, it's.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how you rein that in necessarily.
Yeah, my understanding is it'd be the final one or two candidates possibly that
Right.
you're going to be
Instead
hiring.
of the
You're not gonna
group
run
of
it for
50.
everyone, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
The last
Yeah.
two candidates, you're trying to figure out who to hire.
We at the school, when I was on the school board, ran them even on anybody that volunteered to be a free coach. The main thing is we don't want to expose any of the kids to potential, something that
Predators.
is in the background of someone that just wasn't, it's just, it was a thing with, and the kids are, it's critical that we don't.
Yeah,
And in this case here, we just thought it might be good to run that to make sure that our hire is what they seem to be.
So right now it is at basically the supervisor's discretion on final determination of appointment.
Yeah, right at the last, like Kelly said, and this was just our verbal discussion, the last one or two candidates. That would be one of the last steps. We'd go ahead and run a background check to make sure
Okay.
there's nothing ugly in the background that we're unaware of, just so we don't make.
I just want to make sure we're not
Using
doing
it as
things just to
I
weed
agree
people
with
out.
you. I agree with you.
yeah.
It's something that, we can review as to how many of them. I know the sheriff's department runs them on everybody that they, and it's a good thing because they're going to expose them to
Right. And
prisoners and that. And
And they'll continue to do their own over there.
Right.
so, what's your thoughts on it? It's
Andrew, any concerns from you on this wording?
Not really. I mean, honestly, it's probably discretionary with them anyway. If the policy, is there anywhere in our policy that says, if they have a prior felony, like we're not allowed to hire them, or they'd have to have that was the only thing I was thinking about is if the policy has some language about the background check and then, background check is run and does the head, can they just disregard and say, okay, well, I don't care. This person, I'm going to overlook their history. I think they're an appropriate person to hire. Or are they limited by what the personnel policy handbook says?
I don't think there's any stipulations. We talked about that, because we didn't want it, in one case, a felon's acceptable, in the next case, a felon's not. Especially in a position that isn't relevant to the jail or the sheriff's office. And so it's not used as, I'll pick and choose and use that as an excuse. Whether we need to add that and refine that, maybe, I don't know. So that we have reasons that, no felons are accepted.
Will this be for all county employees?
Yes.
All new hirees, yeah.
Full and part-time? How are we going there?
Yes.
Be full and part-time?
And see, one of the things, the problem is, it's kind of broad spectrum. Steve may have somebody at the highway department that screwed up when they were younger,
Mm-hmm.
and they've kind of grown up, and he feels like they're a good employee. When we start putting it down that, if you've had these kind of consequences, I don't know. I don't know how this,
I think you can get in a little bit of a sticky situation there too, I don't want to come and have a lawsuit brought against us, because I know when you have background checks ran and then you decide to go with someone else, and then somebody comes in and says, hey, why didn't I get hired? Why didn't, and all this, and legally you don't, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, you do not have to tell them why. That's what I thought.
I make a motion to table this and take it to our policy board next time we meet. 'Cause I think we just need to give a little bit more details in it.
refine it.
Yep.
Okay. We
Yeah,
have a
that's-
motion
I
to
would-
table.
Because I'm just sitting here thinking, rolling in my head, what.
There's a lot of scenarios.
I make a
Absolutely.
I make a second that.
We have a motion and a second to table the new employment application as presented. All those in favor? Okay, and then I'm gonna take the next one there, and I would ask if we do the same thing with the personnel policy handbook, because if you're gonna revisit it, then you need to, because the background checks is one of the items that's
Yeah.
included in the policy handbook for our approval this morning, so you need to get that worked out before we approve that document too. You okay with that?
Yes, I make a motion.
To
Second that.
table the personnel policy handbook modifications.
Updates, yes.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I second that.
And a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next, this is not correct. On this one. It says here January 21st is our next meeting. You won't be able to do that. February 18th, 2025 at 6 PM. We have, Andrew, are those two ordinances we have approved these already, but they need signatures. Are they suitable
Yes.
for us to sign?
Yeah.
So I'd like to have those in the minutes too. It is in regard, I think this happened before you were here, Pam. We shrank the size of the CVB from 11 to 7. And it's proportionally busted the same way as it's always been. It's just making them a little more efficient because they have less members. And then the other one is establishing an interest investment fund so that when we collect interest, it's put into the fund rather than general fund, so that people realize that when you spend it, it's not a reoccurring fund. So when the money comes out of that. So we have those two ordinances to sign together. We've already approved them, but I'd like to entertain a motion to go ahead and execute these ordinances. So we have it on our record of the minutes.
I make a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks. Next meeting is February the 18th at 6 PM. Thank you. 18th, sorry. Kelly. It's been a morning. February 18th. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Thank you,
I
Andrew.
make a motion.
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Two and two is